Hi. Hey, so you with the elections? You're the Bureau of Elections, right?
Well, I'm just a volunteer.
We're just wondering what. Okay, I understand you're a volunteer and you're just doing your job. What's all these? Are these mail-in ballots or what's these coming in?
What are these? These are my in tape here.
What's that?
Am I in tape as well?
Yeah, because we're wondering why are ballots being handled down here and not up there with the elections. So we're curious about that.
Okay, yeah. The gentleman who's in charge of this, I think, should be right back down.
What's his name?
Gosh, what is his name? Do you know his name?
Are you volunteer or employee?
I'm a poll watcher. Okay.
Well,
I'm a poll.
supervisor will be back here.
So what's his name?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just volunteer.
And you're a volunteer? What kind of volunteer are you? With the elections?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just curious.
My name is Brian McCaffrey. I'm a registered Democrat in the city of Philadelphia. Today, I'm at the Philadelphia Convention Center, and I am overseeing the ballot counters. I will let you know the corruption that is going on here. They will not allow us within 30 to 100 feet to supervise the ballots being counted. This is a coup against the President of the United States of America, and I want to call out the Mayor of Philadelphia, James Kenney, the Attorney General, Josh Shapiro, who tweeted that there's no way Donald Trump can win President of the United States of America, and also the District Attorney of Philadelphia, Larry Krasner. I can't believe what I'm seeing right before my eyes. This has nothing to do with Joe Biden or Donald Trump. This has to do with our democracy, and I will tell you, there is corruption at the highest level in the city of Philadelphia.
Okay, hey everybody, I played those videos just to show you that this is not a topic of Republican versus Democrat. This is a topic of democracy, and it should concern everybody on every level or whatever you believe in and who you vote for. It definitely concerns me, and I know over the years that we've always had some probably fraud involved with the elections, but I have never seen such a shift that was so great with this past election. That was absolutely mind-blowing to me. And if that party won fair and square, they won fair and square. So that's why I do believe that everybody should be supporting these audits that are going on, and especially up in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia, which we all know that President Joe Biden just visited there. I don't think he was greeted very well, but he visited there. So there's a lot going down. There's so many things going on. Frank's speech over there, Pillow Guy, is having stuff this weekend. These results are supposed to be coming out next week. So, you know, this is for everyone. Doesn't matter what side of the poll that you're voting on. And I come from Ashland, Kentucky, and I don't live in a big city, and all of our voting polls are within our elementary schools. And what I witnessed in the elementary schools here, it was fair in Kentucky. I didn't see anything that was suspicious to me, but I've never worked those polls, and I don't know that side. But I have a guest that's coming on. I'm going to introduce her, and this is so brave. Let me just say, this is really brave for someone to come out and speak out about this finally. I'm going to bring Alison Benn on here in a moment. She's the Majority Inspector of Elections for Philadelphia, which is those are the two videos I just showed that was dealing with up there in Philadelphia. A member of the Norristown Preservation Society, historian of Philadelphia State Hospital, and she's also a crime victim advocate. We talked for a few moments before we went live, and believe me, she has some other stories and things that she needs to tell, but I'm going to bring her on right now. Alison, thank you. Thank you for coming on. Hey, so if anybody's watching this, please, I don't market my YouTube that much, so please give it a thumbs up. My son would say ring that bell, and then share this out, because I do believe she has a testimony and a half, and I believe her story, and it coincides with other things I've heard from other poll sites throughout the United States that's happened, especially these swing states. So real quick, Alison, your position is a Majority Inspector of Elections, and for the city of Philadelphia. So can you explain to the people that are watching what that position is and what your duties are?
Okay. So at your poll,
you have your election board officials that sit at that table, and it consists of a judge, judge of elections, your majority inspector, minority inspector, and a clerk. And then you'll have your machine operator. And with me, I've basically had to run my whole poll. I came into my poll to help somebody who won a position as judge, and everybody bailed. So I came in new, thrown right into it. So basically, I did do everything for the first couple of years, until we finally got some people, that we could and that are staying and going to do the job. And I basically, handle the admission slips, the poll books. I get handed by the police those special lists that come in that are updated in the middle of the election with an updated mail-in ballot list at 6 o'clock at night, like that stuff. I document everything that I find that I think is wrong. I take notes. I do help people, with how, they have to sign in. If it says ID shown, some people come in, they're not in my book. I direct them and call downtown, find out where they're at. I'm running it. I really am doing it all. This past election, we didn't have a machine guy. So it's cut and dry the way you give everybody down the row. So when you go in, like one person does your admission slip, pulls your name, then I'll sit in the second spot. I have the poll book. I get the admission slip, and then I verify that voter. And in the book that poll book that we have everybody sign, there are forms in the beginning of that, and I'm supposed to fill in those forms if I know people have moved, have died, or they're no longer voting in our area, things like that. So I've done that, and we don't get much time. We get about an hour prep to hurry up and set everything up for people to come in.
Wow, that's it. Wow.
And then we don't get much time afterwards because we're like hurrying up and trying to pack this box. And I got a judge who's new. He ain't getting to the paperwork to get to the classes. He's not finding out all different things. Nobody's really helping us. It's like we're in limbo. And, you're trying to follow these books that we get the guidebooks, and, you try to use that as best you can. You use the telephone that they give us to call if we have questions. Or anything goes on security wise. And so I mean, I'm giving a lot right here.
Yeah, that is a lot because I didn't know all that stuff went on behind the scenes either, but I thought that there was a more prep time rather than just like an hour beforehand.
Yeah. And when we're packing that box at night, our door closes at 8, but if there's a line, you got to let that person. So that last person in line is do a cutoff, you know what I mean? It would do a cutoff and stand out there. Nobody else can come in line and say o'clock, but you have to let them. And we haven't run into that, but some polls do. And, but still you're trying to get all this box done, and police come and they're picking up parts of what we have, like the hopper bag, what we call it now. That used to be just the vinyl bag, but now they get a vinyl bag plus the hopper bag. So the police are collecting a lot of this major stuff.
So hold on real quick. Hopper bag. I've never heard of that. What's the hopper bag?
Yeah, we call that because the new machines, we have machines where you put the blank ballot in electronic, and then, and where the ballot will slip into when you're done.
Okay.
It's a hopper.
Okay.
And then a hopper bag, we put it in its bag, and then if there's any little things put in there, and we seal them with like special plastic tags with serial numbers on them and stuff like that, and document everything.
So you all close. I thought I turned my phone on mute. I didn't, so I'm muting it now. So you all close, the polls close at 8 supposedly, and that's a big issue that's happened this past year, that things happened in the middle of the night. after we all went to bed, especially 11. I think I stayed up till almost midnight. I think that night I was like, okay, most polls should be closed. And then the next morning, I woke up and I realized everything still stayed open. So up in Philadelphia, was the polls extended maybe a little bit longer, considering maybe the COVID? Were they using the COVID-19 as an excuse too for 6 feet apart and trying to get more people through, or
No,
stayed
they
open
never
longer?
did it. In line, as long as you're in line at 8 o'clock, where that if your line was so long, you send somebody out, like your clerk or somebody, they sent out at the end of the line, and nobody else can get in line. It's 8 o'clock, but whoever is in line, even 1 minute before 8, they got a place. So even at the end of the night when I'm boxing everything, and we only got to like 1 or 2 in the morning to get it downtown. So a lot of times when we're doing our regular stuff, we're packing up and it's 11, and then you got to drive all the way down Center City. So we run one time, but I'm still supposed to be filling out this paperwork of who's dead and who moved. And I got one particular person that on my poll book that I've been trying to remove for a couple years. And they're a committee person.
Are they dead?
There's no reason for a committee person to still be on my poll book when I keep filling out that information.
Are they dead? Is it
Yes,
a deceased committee
across the
member? Oh my
top of-
goodness.
That's why I really know. So that got me. And I'm like, come on now. Like, this is my poll books. I'm the same people. I'm like, this person moved this. I did all this. Like, why are they still in here? But I was taking notice that's not, I mean, some were being taken off. My paperwork obviously was moving. Like, I did see, notice different things. But I know everybody in the neighborhood. I've raised 5 kids, so I know everybody. I have a photographic memory. I do security work too. I've done for the PGA. And I know you. You know what I mean? I don't forget a face, and I put it all together. And it's just how I've always been. It's a gift, eh? So
yeah, it is a
makes my
gift.
job. So when some people come in and it says they got to show ID, you know, they'll question that. Or a lot of people, they'll come in and they just show me their ID already, which is wonderful. And I'm totally for these voter IDs and with a picture on it, so I can really get you in and out, and there is no line. But if I'm with COVID now, with a mask, then they give us a plastic shield, then they put the shield now at the table. I have to listen to somebody through their mask, through all my stuff, work back and forth. What's your name? Say it again. Repeat that, because I suddenly have 43 new people on my voter list. I always was at 599, and then boom, went up to like 642 or 643 for that November election. And then the next election May, gone. And revised with a revised list, not so much in the poll. If they're not in the book, then look at the list too. Then taking notice to where all these names were filling in at, and where were they coming from, because I know the neighborhood. So it was a lot of different things that I've really paid attention to as the years are going on, as I'm doing this, and really pay attention to that book. And a book to me is a disaster. I also had to do the emission slips, which I've never had to do before. And I had to print them out at Staples. And I didn't get them until the night before the election. They were held hostage on us, which they're always in our materials box. We don't ever touch those. That's something's given to us. Not only did I have to print out this sensitive information at Staples, I had to cut it all out, put it in alphabetical order for the next day. That's short of a time to get that. And it cost me out of my pocket to do all that. And I don't get reimbursed for that. And I noticed
that is crazy. I did not know all this went on, and I'm learning. This is a learning thing for me too. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to make a question in here, and I'll put it up on the screen. But I did not know all that went on behind the scenes.
And I asked them, I said, what's going on with this emission slips? And they tried to use the excuse that the company that prints them for us went out of business. But I also found out the company that prints them does a lot of other printing for it. And yet I had envelopes of red or white with red writing with special for that election. They had other things published and done for that election. So it was like, all right. So with doing that, I noticed one of my voters had 2 voter registrations. And I remembered the name because his father was friends with my father, and I never met him before, but I knew he had lived in the neighborhood, and I knew the name. That's why I can remember this off the top of my head. And it struck me. And so I see this guy's 2 cards, 2 names, same name, same address, but the birth date was different and had 2 different voter numbers too. So he could actually have went in and voted twice.
Vote twice. Oh my gosh.
So I wrote that up. Of course, I did write all that up and I put that in. And this May, when I look for corrections, you would think that would have been corrected. They did do some type of correction with it. I don't know what it exactly. I think I might have the pictures of it. I screenshot a lot of things. I take pictures of everything to document. And I was like, well, they did. It was something that they did do. So I knew they got my thing. I knew that they know, but they didn't remove. They didn't. And so the guy comes in. Now, he didn't come in the other years. Well, he came in to vote in November. And I showed him. And I said, you have 2 here. Which one is your birth date? Because everything's the same except the voter ID number and your birth date are both different. So you're like as if you are 2 different people. And he told me which was the right birth date. I signed all, I did all that, and I sent all that in. But they still didn't even correct that one either. Now, this election in May, no admissions whatsoever. Even though with all the materials and watching, the videos for the class and everything, it said we were still supposed to have admission slips. So it was like, where are these at? Admission slip is important for us at the table because what we do with those is we pull that, and when we put it down, so when I have my MNR inspector do that. So you come in, you're saying the name, she's pulling this index card out. And then we write on that index card what number you were. So if you were like 3 or you're 100, that's what number you are. So that we could list now you in the 2 yellow books that we have. One's number 4 and one's a number 2. One is supposed to go home and stay with the minority inspector. Another one goes back down. Now, that also helps us keep track of with the machines, like when you would say, what number are you on? So you make sure everything is coesthetic, or we're all on the same page. Like, so both books are reflecting. We're at voter number 60 right now. What's the machine say? We're at voter 60. Okay, good. Everything's legit. And we check that. Yeah, throughout.
How often do you check that? Is that hourly or
how often? What?
How often do you check that number to see if it matches?
We check it quite a few times because poll watchers come in and they like to know how many people have voted, and if there's any type of a glitch, or if we just have dead time. My judge is basically have to now run the machine because they didn't even give us the machine guy this one. So he'll just every now and again. But we had 3 glitches this one on the same machine. And I documented all 3 of those glitches, and then the election before that, we using those. We did. Now we protested the May election, the whole poll. We weren't going to go because they lied. They downtown said they had nobody at my poll. So meaning me, my judge, who personally talk on the phone, and his 2 ladies that he got to work with us. They tried to say that nobody at our poll wanted to work, so they were going to consolidate us into a school. And this is during COVID, right? So this is May. Mm-hmm. All right, so we're all going to have to go to a school. Why are you pushing more people in a building? I'm in a nice little building, totally aired out, and it's only like 500, and we don't even get that many. If we get 200 people, we're happy. So to get, it's going to be less people. You're putting us in with all these other polls. Who said we're scared to vote? So when we confronted them with all that, they turned around and they said they deemed our building unsafe. Now, my building is a church. It's where all the AA come, where the room we use, AA's there 3 times, I think, a week, or like twice. We share it with other, type of religions that come in. This building's, that pastor there, he's really cool, and he lets different people use it. Mm-hmm. And there's no steps or nothing. It's flat. There's no danger. Why would you do that? It was just because you wanted our poll closed. And then when they did consolidate everybody, you didn't get a whole poll book. You were only assigned one letter. Now, see me.
Really? Just
at my
one
own
letter?
poll, just like
Sorry.
one or two. Yeah, like you'll or maybe you'll get ABC, like, or, you know, say S is a lot of names, so somebody might just get S. So they were going to do it like that. And even then, I had to like run around I'm calling everybody, dead air. I literally had to call the one commissioner to tell him to, you know, can you put a call in? I'm not getting answers back, and I need to know what's going on with this. And then at the end of it, my judge is like, oh, I wrote up a letter for us. We're signing it. We're protesting. We're not going to do this now. They pulled this on us, and I want to write it up so the neighborhood knows that they closed our poll. One saying that nobody worked, and then two, that it was the building's unsafe. But then the next election, there we are, and we're using it again.
Well, I have a question too. You know, from where I'm in a small town, and you're obviously in a major city. The convention center that's being used, is that a place that has always been used for presidential elections?
You broke up. What was that?
I'm sorry. The convention center the convention center in Philadelphia that was used. Is that a place that's regularly used every election up there for presidential?
No, that was something new.
Okay, because that makes a lot of sense now, because where you said that they want to put everybody together and get rid of your poll area, I was sitting there thinking, why are they doing this in a convention center where there's so many loopholes or places that you can hide or stuff things in areas that nobody would probably ever find unless you are the person that put it there. So this year in Philadelphia, that was the first time they ever used the convention center for presidential election that you know of.
Yeah, I've never been. And it was just for the mail-in ballots. Downtown was just for the mail-in ballots to be counted. That was supposed to be being counted.
And then I think I saw the video where I put it up here too, where they weren't allowing poll watchers. It was like 30 feet or something from that.
Yeah,
and
they're supposed to be allowed with 10 feet, I think it was. Even though that with COVID was 6 feet, right? But I think it was 10 feet that people were supposedly allowed. But yeah, they were like telling them. That's why my judge called me and he said, who's a Democrat, and he's like, well, did they call you to come down and count? And I was like, no. I was like, I'll go down. Like, yeah. And then he's like, yeah. He says, I would go down too, because he's independent. He's like, I'll go down too. And he says, but I ain't getting through to anybody, and I was never asked. He's like, I just want to make sure, see if anybody connected with you. So, you know, and they knew, like, I definitely reached around. I'm like, I'm not afraid of COVID. There ain't nothing afraid of me. The vote must go, and this is my duty to serve. And you know, and it is what it is, and that's what I'm going to do. I mean, people have a right to vote, and I'm not going to back down. And we were really, you know, hoping with everything that, you know, would be a little bit of a smooth ride, but it from the way they already are mismanaged is what I'd like to say, and irresponsibly mismanaged. Then you brought in COVID when that melee and how they were scrambling, and it just, to me, it was like, I just can't wrap my head around it. I can't. It really had my head spinning of, I'm doing this for these many years and it's been this out of whack. How is something so critical with our country allowed to be just so like nonchalant and mismanaged like this? I mean, one ward leader had lost an election and he was able to make 7 polls close down, telling all the people, don't work for the poll, let them go. People that sign up to do this work, and if you're going to do it, and you definitely do, they should be fined, I think, if they don't show up.
I think so too. Yes, I think that I agree with that, Allison. Most definitely, they should be fined. They don't show.
It's just, it really, and there was a click. You always see the clicks, you know what I mean? It was different things, but it was busting through those things for my new judge and how he was going to do things. And he was really put through the ringer. And we were pretty much, it was like we're fending to ourselves. So if my little poll, and this is happening too, And I'm hearing, and I got downtown, this one lady giving me her number, telling me,
Mhm.
anybody you know, hurry up, we need people, we can't. And this is 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock already. Polls are open, and saying we don't got people, we need people. It panics me.
Yeah.
It makes me, I get very much upset. I'm getting anxiety, and I'm feeling like, oh God, is everything going to be okay? And how's this happening? I feel like the weight on my shoulders, even though it's not my position to worry about other polls in the city, but for a fair election. And that's why I do that, so that my neighborhood and my vote got counted. When my judge came in and not having a crew and everybody just up and leaving on him because he won that position. It was the same thing. But we're
Well,
trying our best.
Well, real quick, Philadelphia's had its long history of voter fraud or mismanagement, I guess I could say. Even in 2020, former Philadelphia judge of elections convicted of conspiring to violate civil rights and bribery. So, you have this.
Mhm.
But people have to understand too, at a certain point, that these people are not actually working for us. They're working for the corporation, the United States corporation. They're not for the people. They sign up. The judges, attorneys, if you ever have to have a lawsuit or anything, that's why in a lot of ways, if you can self-represent yourself with that, you have a lot of more rights rather than getting an attorney and retaining them, because they're all under the corporation. And we want to put trust in these individuals in these seats, but they're not working for us. It's a corporation. It's a business.
I call them the shenanigans. The shenanigans that I see that go on is so unprofessional. It's just, it just was a complete turnoff. And I lost all respect for a lot of people. And I've seen a lot of true colors of how people act. I see a lot of ego, and people just want certain things. But yeah, South Philly judge of elections admitted to about stuffing for a judge. I have people in South Philly with the presidential election messaging me, asking me to help. They gave me their information when they had mail-in ballots, and they said, Alison, I think I'm doing this right, but it's not counting my vote. So I have a woman whose daughter's vote is still not counted. And so there is definitely too many things. There's just too many things. It needs an overhaul. The books, the admission slips, the way you're going to do
all
it.
of it. We need to get rid of the Federal Reserve and take back our country as a republic rather than a corporation. And
yes,
and how are we going to do that?
Right. And it's just like, well, I think I've been noticing since I decided when I see like my Governor Wolf, when I'm seeing them post stuff about, because Senator Mastorino, he's doing the audit, and I was thank you for doing this as a majority inspector elections in Philadelphia and a Democrat, open arms, because there's just too many things that I've had over the years that make me question election integrity all the way around from both parties. And it's like, I find that they're in Philadelphia, they're all in bed together. And I feel like I don't have two parties in Philadelphia. There's a few people that are really stand up people and really do a lot of good in Philadelphia and in politics. And they got a strong spine, and they've been making movements. And so I'm proud of that. But I really feel like there's just one party in Philadelphia is basically what it is anymore.
Laura Peel, she's one of my regular viewers. So thank you, Laura, for tuning in. How in the world can we ever trust any election again after the fiasco this last year? Like, I agree with her on that. I've always known that it can't be a perfect election anytime we've had these, especially these presidential elections. But I think it's just so obvious and so calculated. Like, you have to see it. Like, I don't understand why some of these people are still in denial over this past year with what the outcome was, because it's beyond obvious with me. But I mean, I'm assuming these people just still watch mainstream news media thinking that they're telling the truth. But even on mainstream news media, you saw the difference, like CNN, especially, 20,000 votes, and then he lost 20,000 votes, and that 20,000 votes converted to Biden. So it was just enormous this
Well,
time.
I know counting in the middle of the night, stop it. For downtown, they went in the middle of the night and they had to break. They sent people home, go on break. I've always known that counting never stops. Counting and figure because the next day everybody's waking up and we're getting results. So that was another big flag for me here. Okay, so everybody had to take this long break and go home, and then who was sent home and all. So I was hearing from other people who were involved with everything, and we were all questioning, hey, what's going on down there? What is that? Do you need? And then calling around, hey, can we come down then? Can we come down and help? And you were like, it was in circles. But I very much took it serious. I said, when everything's so mismanaged, is that just a big facade so they can get away with what they want to do? And, it just, how I think we could kind of solve some of the things with security issues is definitely having a security camera and a security officer at each poll, because with voter intimidation, we've had that. I've been harassed myself as a poll worker. It's just all those different things. If you had somebody security there, and I think that's a thing. I am down with people using your social, the last 4 digits of your social, or thumbprints, things like that are different ways I think that you can. And I'm telling everybody now, when you don't go out and vote, that's a vote that they can steal. That's the way I feel it.
Sorry, I got goosebumps when you said that.
They can't steal your vote. They can't vote for, if they're doing the dead people still on these voter rolls, but you yourself, they can't go and, because you know what? I came into this wanting to know, how can you cheat? How is this secure? Because of what I went through that very first time. And I'm like, you can't. We could close that door and say people were in there. Nobody's watching us. I could go over and know all these different people are definitely not going to come out and vote. This one's on drugs. This one's this. This one's this. Go wrap them votes up. Or every so many minutes, nobody's here. Somebody go run in there and make 3 votes for something. You know what I mean? There's so many different ways that, you got to trust so many people. And that's why I want everybody, my message is get to know who are your poll workers, and are they elected or are they curbside elected? And how did they get that position? People really need to pay attention to their own polls at their home and start being involved that way. And get a poll watcher pass. Anybody can get one. And go and sit there. And I'd say even at the end, come back. See, wait at those doors. They have to pull the tapes out. We have to post them for everybody to see results. They get involved that way. Get a little more. That's what it's taken. And I think they made it so miserable and so horrible and everything else. A lot of people just up and quit, or they don't want to do it. It makes it so difficult. And so that they can just put in who they want, and they rule it the way they want to do it. And they cut corners. Like, there's so many with these new machines, when they have a person from the commissioner's office come in and check on us if we have questions or something, there's certain forms that are supposed to be filled out. There's certain ways you're supposed to help people. And a lot of this stuff is, oh, don't worry about that. Oh, you don't have to do that. Wait a minute. In this rule book here, it's saying I have to, even the swearing in the morning with this little bit of hour we're trying to set up, and then everybody has to swear in. I've even had a machine guy refuse to swear in.
Why did he refuse to swear in? Then he shouldn't work the machine. In my opinion,
that were harassing us. Maybe he was in from that the old machine. They kept, even though everybody quit because this new judge went in, this machine guy stayed in there, and the judge, we all felt that he was being there just to make things a little messy for us and give for the judge a hard time. But I stuck up for the judge, and I did as much as I could for him and pick up what he wasn't picking up. But we really went through it was rough the first 2 elections that I did with dealing with that. It's just, it doesn't, people are not supposed to act like this. People are supposed to be respectable. People are supposed to have their own self-respect, and they're supposed to be diplomatic. And,
it's not like that anymore.
at all, at all. And it's horrible.
Probably
And
more
it's
than
like,
one security guard at these
I-
places nowadays.
you get an election hangover. You'll be for 3 days. I'm exhausted,
Sure.
you know. And I talk to other coworkers, and they say that same thing. But now, to me, it lasts longer. I get so fatigued because it's like, what, you know, I got so much to talk about, or what I've experienced, and I don't want it to just go kaput. Like, keep that going. Let's fix it. Just fix things, you know. And that's my main thing. The systems are broken. We know a lot of our systems.
It's been, yeah. The whole
And-
judicial system needs to be reworked and revamped, and in all fields, not just voting, but family, any which way you could
And
think
I
of.
do know
Our
the
judicial
Sharpie,
system is terrible.
when it came to
I'm
the
sorry, cut out.
Sharpie Gate.
Oh, Sharpie Gate. Hold on. Let's talk about that here in a second. Dale Birchfield did ask a question here, which is pretty good. What is the audit going to bring to the people when the results show the cheating? What do you think?
Well, for me, a forensic audit, I was interested in, because when you do your forensic audit, you're not just counting numbers. You're looking at like a real crime scene investigation. People like CSI, right? So it's forensics. So you're going to look at those paper ballots. You're going to see, is that real paper? There is like a vote sure paper. There's a special paper that's even supposed to be used.
Right.
So if they're not printed on that, they're no good, you know? And so when I'm Democrat and I have my kids in my house and I vote, so my Democrats in my house all got we got 3 or 4 ballots sent to us each, but we never requested. And I'm like,
so did each ballot have a
my
different
hand.
number on it? Did each ballot have a different number on it? Like, so if you would send it in, it would register under a different number that you voted maybe 3 times?
I didn't really open them. I think I saved some of them, and I definitely took pictures of them.
Mhm.
But I don't think I opened them. I think I was just holding them on the side because I would post them on my Facebook too, like, how many today? Look how many I got today. And it was like, why am I getting it? And no Republicans in my house that were getting anything.
Oh.
And yeah, so it was all Democrat ballots I was being given. Now I have friends up in at other polls in other counties in Pennsylvania that they were given Sharpies to fill out their. They definitely were given Sharpies. They're my friends. They're people that I really know. They were given Sharpies to fill out their ballot. Now, I was given 2 of these big fat Sharpies to spoil ballots and to spoil barcodes.
So when you say spoil, what do you mean by spoil? Just mark through, or?
So if somebody's like when the machine, like one of our glitches, like the machine rejects your slip, or is something wrong with that, if they need a new ballot, you can give them up to 4 ballots, 3 ballots. They get 3 chances. So, but they got to come back and give me that paper ballot that they put in for that hopper. So if they're in person voting, so I have to cross off those barcodes, and I put a spoil ballot sticker on it. And that goes into a bag that the police get. And if they came in and they go, I don't want they surrender their mail-in ballot. They don't want that ballot. They want to vote in person. We're allowed. We give them a provisional ballot. And you spoil that provisional ballot with a Sharpie. So why were they having people up in Montgomery County using Sharpies to fill out their paper? And I've been told the machines reject that, and they reject it.
So with Sharpie Gate, have you ever had that issue with any other elections before in the past, or is this the first year with Sharpie Gate?
Nope, it was first. And I do have my old. I keep all the books from every year, and I even have a book from back with the old machines, the old book. So I decided to read in there. I was like, yeah, let's read about those provisional ballots and mail-in ballots and how that was handled. because we never had to do that before. And you know, so yeah, they obviously did, and it's just a little bit, but they always had that. You always have a way of how it has to, you hand it in and it goes back into these bags. But my thing was, they also were starting to say that the Sharpies don't bleed through. Well,
They do bleed through.
it absolutely bleeds through. And I even started putting dots on things. It's like, look, here it is, goes through. So there's just too many things that I know of people that I truly know, and then things that I'm dealing with and what I'm spotting. And it's just too much for me to fathom. It's like, you know what, and when it comes down to now this presidency, it all comes into play. It's like, are they keeping it this mismanaged on purpose so that they can just do what they want?
Yeah. Untrained, uneducated, and they got people in there that are kind of robotic to a system that don't question. Because, you know, if I got in there and if it happened to me, I'd be questioning things. This doesn't seem right to me, but a lot of people are just not educated. I hate to say that. They don't know to even question it.
Right.
It's really sad.
It's alarming because I went to Catholic school.
I'm sorry.
I was raised, and how you do things. It's just how you do things, and you just something so important, so critical. This should be baby. This should be so secure. Every part of this. I mean, just, and then the ward boss is coming and yelling because the one guy threw them under the bus saying, "Oh, we're going to take the box at the end of the night." Well, in my material box at the end of the night, even though the cops get the certain things, there's still important materials like that, those yellow books. And like I said, my judge has been putting he wants the yellow book because we didn't have a minority inspector, so he just wants to put the yellow books, both of them, even though only one's supposed to go downtown. But I think, you know, one person's supposed to hold on to that. That majority inspector holds on to that. So that's like never, you know, you have accurate account and can recheck on those things. So that's one step that we're not doing right. And there's a lot of others. And it's like they don't care.
Well, I would like to know how many first-time poll workers there were this past year, especially in the swing states that are so controversial in this audit. How many first-time poll workers were there? That'd be interesting number to see.
Absolutely interesting, like I said, because it is current election stuff. Like they said that. Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Allison. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say about, you know, when they said I resigned and I didn't.
Go ahead. Talk about that.
So my judge, it was on Halloween. And I'm decorating outside, and my judge elections comes literally running from around the corner from his house on feet, screaming down the street, "Did you resign on me? Did you resign on me?" And I'm like looking up like, "What are you talking about?" And Nick, what? And he's like, "I got a call that you resigned." And I was like, "Oh, come on. You know, I wouldn't do that." And he was like, "Yeah, I figured there's their games again." And he says, "And then they're trying to push this lady on me saying we're going to send her." He says, "And I don't like this. I don't like the way it's handling. And I want you to call her. And I want you to question her. And I want you to find stuff out. And then I want you to let her know I want to make a three-way call, me, you, and her. So I know that you did call her. And I know that we did. And then she knows that I know and that it's all squared away." And I said, "Okay." So then me and him got together and we made phone call to her. And I had already made the phone call. Let me back up. I did call her on my own. And she was insisting on my personal information. And I was like, "For what?" And she said she was going to send, you know, she has a PDF file of our admission slips. And that's when my head just went, "What? What are you doing with?" And you're not, what? You got our admission slips. Who are you? And like, you're just somebody curbside. You're not totally 24 hours when you're calling my judge. So how are you, like, this was really strange. It just really,
yeah.
So I eventually, you know, even I said to her, "I don't feel comfortable giving my information to you because I don't know you." I said, "But my judge wants to talk to you and me at the same time to make sure that I did touch base with you to let you know that I didn't resign and we don't need you. And, you know, so the admission slips or whatever, we could talk about that too. And so that's what it was. And then I went ahead and I put my email on I had a security email to cover up my email so that I could give her that when I call back with the judge. And we did. And my judge is literally, she answers, I'm going to talk, and she said she didn't want to talk to us. She was in the middle of her church group. And then it was like, no.
Didn't want to talk to you all about the election or what's happened. Oh my gosh. And because I love Jesus and I love my church too, but I mean, that's, you have a lot of responsibility when it comes to an election. That would be my main priority at that moment.
I think it was just that she didn't want to be bothered and she didn't want to deal with us. And so that made me go ahead and Google her and investigate who she was. And when I did, I didn't like what I was saying and who she was connected to. And I think, and that's who actually probably hand placed her here. And just bells were going off to the judge too. He's like, yeah, I told you I don't like this. Look at this. And he's reading it too. And he's like, yeah, I don't like this one bit. So when we call her, we're going to both say we're both here. And she knows it's a 3-way call. So my judge is the one that says hello, and you know, with so-and-so, and she just goes right in and starts talking, not even realizing I'm there. And she starts proceeding to talk about me.
Wow.
With specific things.
Did you stay silent? Did you
say, Alison, don't want the admission slips. I don't want.
I hope you stayed quiet as long as possible on that phone call. I would have. I'm like, she's talking about me. I stayed quiet now.
And I recorded it. So
wow.
We did FaceTime. It was FaceTime. So I recorded it, and then I went and I popped my head and I went, "Hi," and so, I'm right here. She didn't give me a chance to say hello. So it was like, and you just said that. Gotcha. And that was really it. It was like, wow, this is the level of maturity. A lady was older than me, and she's holding
middle school
degrees, never being a crony for the mayor. Wow. Drama like that, this is supposed to be something critical. So, yeah, so then I'm spending the night.
I don't know how much you know about narcissism, but that's narcissistic behavior in many ways, and they are very immature. They have a maturity level of an 8-year-old, I think, at the most.
Yeah.
8 to 10 years old. So, wow.
But I did find, but at least that said too. Yes, it's been reported that the commissioner's office was saying that I resigned. When one commissioner who I dealt with, he was making phone calls and he was having the one lady who's in charge of she call me back. I knew that he did his job. So it's like I felt like, this was the only route I could go was with that guy and that commissioner and to talk with him and it say, hey, and he had answered the phone. So that was cool. Like his main line, he was answering the phone. So I got directly to talk to him and he says, I'm going to send an email over now. But it was like, I didn't resign. What is going on? This was odd. And I'm the one that's running the whole show for you. So you know, right. This guy is terrible and nobody's working and all this. And I said, am I a target now because I have put in reports?
Probably so. If you do anything with truth whatsoever, you're a target. You are. It doesn't matter if you're Democratic or Republican or anything like that. If you are somebody that pursues the truth, just like the video I started out here, he was a registered Democrat too, talking about this should concern everybody on all levels of independent, Republican, Democratic, all that. This should concern everybody because I have never in my years I've voted, which has been 3 presidents now. I've never seen it at this level or this extreme. And if we accept it now, it's why vote? Why vote? Because it's just so overwhelming to me. And Alison, I think that you could probably agree with that. Like, is this out of all the years you've worked, is this the most it's ever been that you've seen so many things happen that's just it's illegal in a lot of ways. So
Right. That's why I use the terms a lot of shenanigans, illegalities, and irregularities. And it is time. It's like, come on, kiddies. It's time to get your crap together and let's do this right. You should be fully prepared months before. You got 6 months, like, you know what I mean? You got May and then you got November. You got plenty of time. You know it's been doing. It is the same process. You know how to have it done. It's just. No, I feel like a lot of it's sabotage. It's people, ego. People, I ain't doing this. I ain't doing it. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's not secure because there's so many different ways that I don't feel secure. And even when I did do my one report, like I showed you, and I'm going to hold it up for everybody here. When I made my very first report, and that is in May of 2018, I had a response back. I called all the commissioners and everybody did talk. I mean, I did go through the whole board because it was like, whoa, and my judge wanted me to do it too. He says, yeah, I need you to call down. I need you to do all this. But even in her email to me, she says, I assume your faith in the integrity of the election process is pretty shaken. And this is back in 2018. This isn't the 2020 election. I've been with these issues since then, since the very first start. And then the first thing that happened to me when I started, a ward boss came in. He was
so
outside.
was that during the 2018 elections, like the commissioner? Okay. So if they're doing this at the presidential, that because I am a Republican, I'm a registered Republican. I was Libertarian for many years, but I'm a Republican now. And I've ditched Mitch McConnell years ago. I vote for I hate to say it. I'm an honest person. Whoever is against Mitch, I vote for. And how does Mitch, and every person I talk to, that's even my family that's Republicans, or and then there's a majority of people here that are Democrats, but they don't. How is Mitch McConnell still getting in there? I don't know. So if they can manipulate the presidential elections this bad, we really need to look at our state elections.
Have you ever heard of the term wham, walk around money?
I've heard of what's that game show? No whammy, back in the day. You know what I'm talking about? Where to go around the circle like no whammy. I know no whammy.
Yeah, there's a thing called wham, and it's walk around money. And this is why these people that are the Soros money, this is how this affects the. So walk around money is so much money, and then people are paid to just stay silent and just don't do anything. There's all different things. And I've been to petition signing parties for candidates. I've seen a lot of different things. And people's like, what? Yep, no, the money's all gone. Everybody already got their pocket line. Oh, see you. I'm done. So, I was told since the 80s, for my family, I had my cousins, they were running for state rep, and my cousins running the election, and people were chasing her son home from school just to intimidate. They wanted her to shut up. You know what I mean? Just to try to rough up. I mean, it's nasty. It gets nasty in Philly. It gets real. It. And, why are they allowed to act like that? And then it's not even, it's not part of the game, or, oh, it's just chalk it up with it. No. And then the walk around money, where you'll see where they've paid people $50 for your vote. And I have a girlfriend in another county here in Pennsylvania. And she's like, God, I should have been doing this. But she said some guy was dressed up in like this mascot costume, and he was coming up to people in line and asked them to walk away from the line, and he was paying them $50 each. Now, I remember back in the day, in the 90s, where they were paying drug addicts, the crack addicts, $50. And then they came, and the news had it, and they brought yellow buses around it. And they were banging at dawn on people's doors to tell them to get onto the bus because they've already gotten their 50. We need you to get out now and go vote.
Wow.
So
I would never think of this.
This is why with election fundraising and with money with different things. Yeah. This side got all this kind of money. They got that, but then they also have this walk around money. and it's powerful. It gets people to just simply turn a blind eye. It gets people to not do their job or not focus on anything or leave it be and just be silent. I mean, how many board bosses we have in Philadelphia and how many are being silent, especially when, you know, when they went and they put up this one candidate before, and it was like, really? And I ended up calling all these ward bosses myself from the committee 70 and leave a message at talking with them. I'm like, I cannot believe what you are doing. I really, it was becoming more and more of such a joke to me and all just a scam. It's all just is this props and figures, but because they already know they got it in what they're going to do. I have no faith.
I don't even know what to say to that. This is a side that I never even thought about. I don't even know what to say to that. It's hurtful.
I just want they can't cheat. If everybody votes, they can't. That is the one way.
And that's why they pushed the mail-in votes so much too this last year, so they could cheat.
And what I was disturbed to see in today, something about with the recall election in California, that they're posting that you can print out your own ballot from home. I just posted that on Facebook. I just posted. I just got that tonight, so I'm going to be looking into that. But I'm like, what? Newsom? So it's Newsom's recall? Is he what is in that? Oh. And they got that other guy on that ballot.
Oh my gosh, Newsom needs to go. Oh my goodness. I never even thought about this. My mind doesn't go there. I'm naive. I'm naive in a lot of ways. And I think I'm an American citizen. I think a lot of us, especially that lives in these smaller towns or country areas, don't understand this when it comes to these larger cities that really actually they have the say so in who wins the elections. Really, I mean,
say in Pennsylvania, it's Philadelphia and Pittsburgh,
Detroit too, up in Michigan, and
just for Pennsylvania.
For Pennsylvania, yeah,
they dominate. Now, when Trump did win, and everybody in the way CNN and everybody was put in the other numbers, other states before they would really I knew that PA was being held back on purpose, and I knew it was even specific polls that weren't put in their numbers in yet, because it was like a nail biter. But we had already known Trump did win Pennsylvania, but it wasn't being announced, and it just kept holding it and holding it and holding it. So these specific places, I feel like almost time it's like they punish us or something. It's like, oh, you didn't get our way here, so you're treated like this now, and we're just targets. And I'm just so thankful. I think, there's so many different things that I don't have faith in with what I'm saying. So I gladly would with all the things like the video you showed with the guy about the counting. Yes, I would totally wear that. And I want to make another point. My judge with he set up a hidden camera in our poll because we have no security and way we get harassed. So he finally put a hidden camera in, and the one person who is coming in and helping us from commissioner's office, it very well looks like that woman that's in the video that's being questioned. So one thing is, I haven't looked that up. Oh. This totally reminded me of it. We think she was the one who's, and I was asked by Project Verertes and Buzz Newsfeed if I could identify her. And I said, my judge has video. So he's got this video and her voice, her everything. We think it is. I don't know if they've identified her yet, but I've been waiting for them to transfer it on the DVDs so I could send it out to somebody else. But yeah, it was really close. And we're like, is that who that was? And when our machine glitched, we have these girls, and I got them on video. We have these girls coming in. They want to insist on using our bathroom when with the COVID, now no poll watchers were even allowed to use the bathrooms. Nobody's allowed in there. Over, in, out, that's it. And these two girls out of nowhere came in and were attack. And then it was like, whoa, and they look like an Antifa type,
Right.
And at the state, so when they're doing all that, and I go after them, I take my video camera to be able to, and I chase them out. You can't be in here, and this is what it is, and the stink that went about it. So happens the commissioner's office, they come in every so many hours and check, make sure everything's okay. We're calling them the line up. Yo, somebody needs to get here. We're having this going on. The judge is calling down, like, these girls are in here fighting us. And they don't have poll watcher passes, and they got to leave. And there's even extra rules because of COVID, and we're trying to abide by it. And she said, I'm already almost right there. I'll be there within like 2 minutes. So it was like, all right, coordinated that this woman's coming in the same time that these girls are there and doing that. And then our machine glitches too at the same time. And my judge.
How many red flags you gotta need, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I do have 2 more questions. Real quick, I want to end with the audit question I'm going to ask. And I knew that we were going to go over a little bit. I don't want to go that far over. So, and we started a little bit late anyway. But so before we started, and if you can't say anything now on camera, you don't have to, but you mentioned the Wuhan lab. And I was not aware of a Wuhan lab, possibly be it on United States grounds or property. But you said something. If you can't say that,
there's 2 of them in the United States.
Then we don't need to say it. But okay. And where are these located?
One's in the Philly Navy Yard, and the other one is in California.
In a Navy Yard too in California, or is that just regular Wuhan lab?
Not exactly sure that one's location. I know about the Philly one. And the Philly one they do stem cell research. They're in for cures. And then all the stuff that comes from all the supplies, everything that they do, all comes straight from the Wuhan lab in Wuhan. And then those officials and those higher ups from Wuhan come over to this lab to check on the workers and check on quality control and see how things are going on in the lab here in Philadelphia.
I never even thought. I've gone down that rabbit hole a few months ago, but never even first of all, everything I've ever read about it never directed me to the United States. And I never even thought that lab or an extension of that lab would be here. But now you got to start looking at your own people. It should have been doing that a long time ago, because our own people did a lot of stuff throughout the years. With World War II too. I like by 2020, I feel like I'm a pretty knowledgeable person. I have several degrees. I have a minor in history, Gilded America time frame, Civil War, and all that kind of stuff. But World War II, I was pretty knowledgeable about. But then I started 2020. That's the one good thing that came out of COVID with me. I've stopped watching mainstream news media many years ago. But all this stuff was happening, and then it made me start researching. And I realized they've changed history a lot, and especially with Tesla and Thomas Edison and all that kind of stuff. But you know, now we need to take these places and actually research and see if they're on our own land. Even that surprised me when you said that earlier before we started.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I didn't know that it was that, and someone I know working in there, and then they gave me said right in the beginning of COVID, we actually got sick before everybody else knew what it was. Works there.
I think that happened to a lot of people.
Yeah, they didn't know what was wrong, but what happened was it was a CEO from Wuhan, like a quality control lady. She came and she was, watching all the workers, and she was coughing and sick over everybody's shoulder.
Wow.
Not covering her mouth, nothing. And the guys were getting all mad. So they go up to the person I know, and they say, "Hey, this lady's doing that. We don't know what to say. We can't say. We're afraid to say anything. Or we're going to get in trouble because you're high up, visiting from Wuhan." And so this person sat down to watch and monitor and see what was going on. Next thing you know, the person jumped up, ran over to the woman because she went to faint, and he caught her before her head hit the floor, and she could barely talk. And she says, "I need the bathroom." So he went to pick her up, and she was like dead weight. He's taking her to the bathroom. He's asked for two other, somebody help, because he has to push open a bathroom door that she could go in, and she's becoming real dead weight. And as he pushed open the door, she puked all over him. So of course he left work for the day, and he didn't go back. And then few days down, he ends up getting real sick, and he just thought it was a bad hangover. Calls and says I'm dying, and this person never asked for help. They're totally like, and I was like, oh God. So I rushed and brought a bunch of things like for a brat's diet and things like that, because he kept claiming like dehydration and these other different things. And it's really was like, I really feel like I'm dying. And so that's all I did. Brought everything down and did what I could for him. I found about a week or so later, I start getting symptoms of things.
Oh no.
Like a month it felt like. I finally went to a doctor's and get every test under the sun. They can't figure out what's wrong with me. And then I said, started seeing little things going on, and I'm reading between the lines from different politicians and people that I know in politics in Philly, and I knew about lockdown, knew everything else before everybody else. And then the person started telling me more and more things, and I'm like, whoa, and then sent me a link to this particular lab that is funded by Soros.
Oh yeah.
And I have that. It's Google. It's a legit
It's
website.
fun.
It's nothing bad. It's not like I can send it to you.
That was my rabbit hole. It's funded by him, Bill Gates, Fauci, and always get Rothschild and Rockefeller mixed up. I think it's Rothschild because it's Rothschild's pharmacy, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But they, that's one part of the 11 families of the Illuminati. So that's my rabbit hole too. I went down over the last year. But I do have one last question here that I want to talk about the audit. And actually, it was one of the viewers mentioned it earlier too, and I think we answered half of it, not all of it. So, we have Mike Lindell. Is it this weekend? He's offering like $5 million or $1 million, I think, for somebody to prove him wrong about the Dominion machines and the fraud. August the 11th, we're supposed to have a nationwide emergency alert system start. I think these audits, the final, I guess, answer to all of them are coming out on August the 13th. I also know that Congress goes out every month in August, but the Capitol building on Google Maps shows that it's going to be closed till September 25th, which I thought that was weird. There's a lot of things that are like closed off, not happening. So with this audit, and I hopefully, Alison, that I'm calling cheating in mass numbers. That is absolutely intentional, not accidental, not like this has just happened too much. So what do you think the outcome is going to be with all this?
Well, what I am seeing that's coming out of Arizona, it gave me hope that, because I'm for it. I don't want a regular accounting audit. I think we really do need to audit. I think we should audit everywhere. I think it just needs, it's what it's there for. It's not something, it's for this type of thing. And when you have enough, this system beat down like this, and then, you have to go that extra and say, hey, there's enough people that came. There's legitimate enough stuff here that what goes down. And what I know, how lots of stuff goes down every year. So, and just how it was so chaotic, and even more so that for 2020, no, it's just like, just do it and get it over with. It's what it's for. These Dominion machines, I never liked them. I still don't like them. They glitch. My old machines didn't glitch. And I who cares? They want to threaten and say, if you do the audit, we're not going to you can't use the machines no more. You got to buy your own machines again. You're going to have to lease or buy machines again. So that's how they're stonewalling the audit here and trying to stonewall it in Pennsylvania. But it's like, good, because I don't want the machines. So really do it, you know? Is that supposed to scare us? No. And we got so much money for so many different things. So what? They're making all these $1 billion. The Kennedy Center got how much during those relief packages?
Oh, yeah.
We can fix our infrastructure as far as our critical, such a main vein of our society of a presidential election. I was really hoping that, those couple of years at first we were mucky, but they would have it all together for this presidential election. It should be presidential. There's nothing
Right.
like it. And I think things can be fixed, but there's a lot has to do with, and I think the people that don't want to go over it and don't want fixed and don't want to look at things, it's because there's things that hide. That's it. If you don't have nothing to hide, you don't have to worry about it. And then if you think they're so wrong, you're proving them wrong. But there's too much enough that went on, and we know because of COVID, and you had it all mismanaged, and you had to do all these different things, and you're making your own rules over the Constitution you're not allowed to do, extending deadlines and things like that. No,
What was it? 3
cut and
days
dry.
after the election, they were still accepting mail-in ballots or something? 3 days after the election, was it?
Yeah,
They were still accepting mail-in ballots, or I can't remember. I was like, I've never remembered that ever happening before.
Right, exactly. And
Yeah.
military ballots are always.
Well, there's a
Mail-in
difference
ballots,
between
like
an absentee ballot and a mail-in vote. What's the terms? I don't know what the terms are, but absentee for our military and all that kind of stuff, and they can be verified, no doubt about that. I would never question a military vote, but there's a difference between an absentee ballot, because everybody's like, what, you don't want the military to vote? I'm like, there's a difference between these, a mail-in and absentee. So, it was an agenda to do the mail-in. I do believe that now. And they used a pandemic to do a scare tactic too, in a lot of ways, to get those mailed in. But for those that really truly voted, that's what I've always said. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, as long as you voted. If you really truly voted.
When I sit behind my table, I am not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm not nothing. I'm just making sure that my neighborhood and everybody is exercising their right to vote. And I get all excited, when there's new kids, it's some teenagers first time voting, because like I said, I know kids.
I remember my first time.
Little their parents, they're looking forward to it. I love that. Now I got kids that they know what they're doing there, and they're waiting for the sticker. I voted stickers and all like that, and then given the incentives when they did before, where if you had your vote sticker, you could go to different bars or restaurants and
you got discounts,
free
appetizers.
So it was like, yes, make people come out and vote. They're the kind of things we need. We really do need everybody to come out and vote. Tax day has a deadline. Things have deadlines. Things have to be done. Oh, well. If you can't make it and you can't do that, oh, well, you should have that as a top priority. If that's a top priority in your life, then you make that arrangement to be able to have that done. But I think this mail-in ballot is bad. Provisional ballots, military's absentee ballots. I think those kind of things, you're out of country. I'm agreeing with those. But this overall, and especially if this is true that now you're printing out a ballot at your home, no. Because that's what forensic audit. That's what I tell people. The forensic audit, they're going to look at those papers. They're going to make sure those ballots are legit ballots, not just, and really checking them signatures. It's not just, so if I get a deck of cards and I'm counting out these deck of cards and I get to 52, hey, I'm going to count this deck again and I'm still getting 52. Right. You're always going to get that number. But out of that 52, which ones are fake?
Well, hold on. Now, I meant to end that last question, but that reminds me, there was a rumor or a conspiracy that was going around that these voting ballots had an invisible barcode or ink spot, probably like on our currency or things that can be tracked. I mean, why can't that
Yeah, I didn't
happen? Like, can it?
I never heard about the that being invisible. I was told that they had, a barcode that they some type of a barcode or whatever. And with that, I know
It's
the
like if you put
mailing
it up
bottom.
against a light or something, you could see the numbers, or something like that is what
Well, they
I
could tell
read.
which were Democrats, but even when you dumped your envelope, I think at the envelope you could tell if it was a Democrat envelope or a Republican envelope too.
Oh, okay. Did not know that.
Somebody was telling me that. But like I said, I only got mail-in ballots sent to me that were unrequested for Democrats. So I wouldn't have seen if a Republican ballot had come in, what it looked like. But with ours, I mean, I think I still kept some, but I did take pictures of what they look like. I'll go look for that too, the barcode and all, and see. I hope I saved at least that one, because I moved. I'm out of Philly now.
Okay.
I still have my
Oh,
position. I'm still in
okay.
Pennsylvania, but I am so sick of Larry Krasner and my reports, Larry Krasner, and what's happening in Philadelphia. But now knowing that my reports go to the DA's office and they ain't going up to the feds, this is
Yeah.
one big joke.
It is a
one
joke.
big.
It is a
And
joke. And I have that same issue in my small town. And believe me, I just want to move to the county rather than live in the city. Now, like, before I was like, I'm going to move out of state, but now after in development or economic developer and stuff here, I'm like, I just want to move to the county now, because they're doing a lot more out in the county rather than the city. But I get it. It is a joke. It is a joke. But you got to remember too that my mind changed a whole lot of ways when I started noticing and understanding that these people work for a corporation and they don't really work for you. They don't work for the people. So, and it's sad. It's sad.
Machine. It's a machine. And we had a machine in Philadelphia before. And it was Israel Durham and Philip Johnson days. And that is in with Philadelphia State Hospital's history, and in that realm, and in the way that machine worked back then. And what I'm finding is, from doing the research from that hospital and that stuff back then, I'm seeing this same machine and these same tactics. And the machine back then was Republican, but now I'm finding it as Democrat. I am so disgusted with these Democrats that I'm actually going to change. I'm just going to go no party. I feel at this. I'm conservative, but I've been let down even by.
But I changed. I changed to.
What was that?
I'm sorry, you cut out. I changed when Obama got his second term, because I was libertarian for many years and I didn't vote for Obama both terms. But when he got his second term, the Democratic people that was close to me, it got so ugly. Like, they cussed me out. They called me so many names. They turned into totally different people. I didn't even know who they were because I did not vote for Obama. And I was like, this is it. I have Republican friends that never did this to me. And then it's even gotten greater over the years after I've become Republican. And then I voted for Trump. I met Trump. I think God lined that up. I met Donald Trump in 2001. And then I met Bill Clinton in 1997. I was 17 years old on Capitol Hill, and he hit on me. Bill Clinton hit on me. And when I get tipsy with my girlfriends, when we're out, they call me Monica Lewinsky as my tipsy name. But I met Bill Clinton. Then Donald Trump is one of the main reasons I got my bachelor's degree in finance and accounting. And he was absolutely wonderful to those kids. My mom is a middle school teacher, and we would take the kids to New York at the end of the year. And that all made straight A's and things like that. So we were up by the park, and this was when The Apprentice first came out. And here comes Donald Trump, and he had some other businessmen around him and things. And all the kids were going, "There's Trump, there's Trump." And I was like, "Shh," and he heard him, and he came over, and he's like, "Did somebody say my name?" And all these kids were like sitting there. And then they start pulling everything out, like signing T-shirts, anything they had. They wanted Donald Trump to sign. He sat and talked to those kids. This is 2001 or 2002 maybe. For at least 20 minutes, asked where we're from. My accent. He he told those kids to always fight for what's right. I'm not joking. That's what he said back then. He said he encouraged them to go to college, to get a degree, to make goals and fulfill those goals and never forget their goals. Write them down is what he's telling them. So then he's walking across the avenue there, and all the kids were like, "Can we say you're fired? You're fired." And I was like, "Sure." So we go 1, 2, 3. Mr. Trump, you're fired. And he turned around and he's like, "No, you're fired." And those kids, like, it was magnificent to me. And in the mainstream news media, there's a side to him that they are not putting out there that's unfair, in my opinion. And it's now, don't get me wrong, there were several things that he has said that I cringed in a lot of ways, but it ended up being the truth. At the end of the day, it was the truth. And he put a umph in me. That was when I was in Bible college. I went and got a bachelor's and master's in Christian education. So then I went back to college and got a bachelor's in finance. I was a double major, finance, accounting, and then business administration. And I will tell you, honestly, it was due to him, full-fledged. And then when I was 17 years old at Capitol Hill, Bill Clinton, I was one of the very few people in my area to go. I think there was 2 people in my area they picked for Capitol Hill week. And so I was up there, and I actually roomed with another girl named Emily. We became really good friends. So we were up there, and Bill Clinton was running like that little park by the Capitol building, or right out front there. And she's like, "Oh, there's the president. And I turn around and he waves at us and waves. So I turn back around talking to her. She goes, "Oh my gosh, he's coming this way. He's coming this way." I said, "Who?" She's like, "Mr. Clinton, President Clinton." So I turn around, and like, he was right there. It was like really fast. And he hugged me, and he hugged that girl and the other Emily. And he's like, "What are you ladies up here today for?" And we were telling him Capitol Hill week and stuff. And then he shook our hands, and then he hugged me again, and he told me I had nice legs. And all I could say at 17 years old, I don't want to get emotional about this, I've talked about it so many times, is that I play basketball. That's the only thing I could say to him. I play basketball. And he ended up not being the president to me at that time. He ended up being a really old man that was gross. And he said for me to apply to be an intern and put his name on there. I didn't do that, obviously, but and then I just went on my merry way. But I think God put both of those people in my path throughout the years to see different points of view on both spectrums, I guess, of a.
That's exactly what I've been saying to myself. I've been saying to my family and friends for the past 2 years now. I said, because I've been through a lot, I've done a lot, I got a lot of experience in different things, and it's like, if I'm not there, my kids or somebody, or I'm getting direct, and it's like, I've had so many things where it's like, wow, it's all leading me up to right now what I'm dealing with and how it all fits into place. But yeah, I was a supporter of the Clintons. I was the MTV era. Like, yeah, I wasn't old enough. I was 17 in 92. Like, I couldn't vote for him yet, but I got my boyfriend at the time to vote. He was 18. So that was that MTV thing. And I followed them. And I up until when Obama came in, I really was. I was Ed Rendell. I still do like Ed Rendell from Philadelphia. There's just certain people that I've really admired, and I really liked what they did. And but I just didn't like the vibe I got from Obama. I just didn't. So I was the first time that I didn't vote. I didn't vote. I just wouldn't vote. Yeah. And I just didn't like the vibe, and how it was going down, and how they were treating Hillary to a degree. Then I started finding out about Hillary, and with my father, Purple Heart, and in with the memorial societies and all like that, and talking with other Marines and talking with different people, I was finding out how different people were being treated by her, and as things were going along, and as it was going on, I started to like not be such a big fan. And in the past, since 2014, really, when she was stepped down, and what happened with Benghazi and all like that.
Oh, yeah.
Why
is these people not being held accountable at this point? Why are they not? And they're all in together. That's the only way. They're all in it.
Yeah.
If one goes down, they all go down.
And my grandmother,
And
my grandmother went to Trump's casinos with the senior citizen trips every Sunday. And that was her thing. She loved that. And one time she had a problem there, and Trump like helped her with something. And she ended up every holiday, cakes would come. Mother's Day,
wow.
Easter, for years.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
she would always, and she passed on a few years ago, but I have a lot of her stuff. And I opened up when Trump announced he was going to run. I opened up her one jewelry box, and there's a pin. It's an American flag, and the other flag says Trump Plaza. And it's a Trump American flag pin.
Yeah.
And I was like, my grandmother's like, because she used to say, oh, that Trump, he really knows how to run a business. And that's why I voted for Trump. I did. As a Democrat, I was a deplorable. I voted for Trump.
I'm deplorable too.
I wanted our business back. I seen how bad our country was doing. We did need that type right then and there. And I think what Trump's weakness was, and they knew it was the science part, the medical part. They knew they got him. He was weak in that, and that was in. I think that was a weak. And for him, I could be completely wrong. It's just what I see and what I was feeling, and getting them on this. And they exploited the hell out of that pandemic. It's just.
Oh yeah. Well, I always said too, for many years, even before I even knew Trump would ever run for presidency, I always said we need a business person in the White House, not a politician. And so when he started running, because he was on the Democrat ballot before in the past, he was Democrat, and then he ended up being Republican and running for that position. So I'm very proud of him. He did turn this country around in the 4 years he was in it. And I don't even know how he did all that he did. So to see it crumble in a lot of ways, and then some people don't see that. I don't understand how they don't see it. It's either they're not business minded and they're more emotional minded, based off feelings, yeah. And really honestly, he's American made, and he never sold out to the establishment. And I think that's why he created so much peace in all these other countries, because he wasn't part of that program. And he got respect, especially in North Korea and things, that when he walked over there, I knew that was big. I don't care if I will say this, if Obama did that, I would be proud. At that time, if Obama did that, that was like big news for me, because my dad was in Vietnam and he was a Screaming Eagle 101st. So anything that deals with over there in the Koreas and things like that's a big deal. So if Obama did that, then I would have been very proud of Obama too. I'm not just saying this because it's Trump, but he has respect, and he's gotten that respect from many of these other countries that no other president has done. None that I know of.
And he had that, that businessman, the way he does talk to people. And that's what my grandmother said. She's like, and then I remember watching the talk shows. My mom, Sally Jesse Raphael, Oprah, all those stuff like that. And Bill Donahue, my mom's always watching them. And, and they kept back. So when I see those clips now, when Oprah's like, will you run for president? And kept, when Trump was, they were always asking, and you see them all those years with them all the time. And suddenly now, because it's against them. And okay, it's just how politics is. But then it continued and it continued. And I thought, okay, now we even have Biden in, will things continue? No, people are still stuck, and they're just treating each other like crap. And everybody's stuck in ego, I feel. And nobody wants to be wrong. And everybody has to be the right one. Or, you know what I mean? And it's not. Can we just get together and be diplomatic here and have some conversations without... There's no more nice. There's no nice. I just don't think anything's diplomatic anymore. I think it's just,
when someone goes straight to name calling, when they go straight to name calling, I exit out. Like, I'm here. I'm an adult. I'm 40 years old. I don't name call you. I don't call you stupid. I don't call you ignorant. I don't call you all these names. Come at me and let's talk as an adult without any of that, and let's discuss this. But that doesn't happen. It doesn't.
It does.
I mean, you're Democrat, I'm Republican, and we're sitting here having a discussion. I mean, we agree on a lot of stuff that's going on, but if you didn't agree and we're just sitting here having a discussion, and you're not calling me names. I'm not calling you names or anything. We're just trying to figure out something together. But that's the agenda that they want to put. They want to keep us divided no matter what.
Yes.
You're playing the game
Absolutely.
at this point.
Because
anybody, go ahead, Alison.
We're so strong together, united. We are so powerful, and they know that. And the Constitution's made for us to keep government in control, not to keep us under control.
Right.
And I just don't like how I see the Constitution. I feel like it's just totally being trampled on. People making their own rules as they go, and then
Amendments.
they speak such ego of no, it's just turning me off. You didn't have a platform when you ran against Trump. He had the platform, and you're proving it even more. You use Build Back Better. Come on. You've got nothing. You've broke, and everything that I'm seeing and how I'm going, I've lost respect. I'm done with this party. I'm done. And, it's going to the progressives. It really is. I still have this line of people that, there are these type of Democrats, and then you got these other ones that when they're going down that road, that progressive road, ooh, they are... It is bad. I went to City Hall. I sit in with some city council sessions, and I see how different council members have goons come after us. Just sit in the audience.
I believe it.
To watch a session. Really? And I'm sitting there wearing purple. I'm on the other side. I'm not, and I get it from a way.
Term limits.
So
that's what Laura said. I am all for term limits and then get rid of Pelosi. Pelosi divides us too, but that's a whole other topic. But go ahead, Alison.
I can't stomach her. I can't stomach her.
Listen, she's 80 some years old. Who wants to work at 80 years old? Come on. She's staying in there just because it's a control issue. I would have been reaching out to other people in my party, training them to possibly to fulfill or fill in where I'm leaving. Or run for that position, like a replacement. This is all control. It's narcissism to the fullest degree. And I love what's her name, Marjorie Taylor Greene, where they have split the Capitol building. The one side you have to have masks, the other side you don't. And she's some of the stuff she does. She took the velvet rope out and she says, "Hey, you all won't get arrested over here. This side, we don't use masks." And these people were actually going over to the other side and taking their mask off. It was great. But it's a control thing. And then, she fined Marjorie over not wearing a mask. And this is narcissism. They can put boundaries up and rules up and expect you to abide by them, but they can break them all they want to. And that same day that she fined Marjorie, she was caught not wearing a mask in that designated area. So she's filed a lawsuit against her. I'm good for that. I think it's time for some people that Republican or Democrat, if just integrity, to step up.
Absolutely. That's the thing. People are just, I thought even with Biden winning, when were they going to stop acting ugly? And they're not, and Trump stayed silent for these past. We're already starting to hear him again now. They just stayed ugly. And Pelosi is just like, I see the narcissism completely and for that control. But I'm also noticing her the way she's trying to style the different things. I swear she was so intimidated by Melania that she's really trying to make herself copying the way the styles are, the different things. And it was like, but yet they could trash her. And I don't like how she's going either. It's totally ruined it for me. So many things that I've caught from the Democrats in the past 2 years has totally turned me off. And there's specific people like Cory Booker. Here in New York, and the things he was saying, and which I was following with that. And when I was following with Schiff, the things he was saying, and Kamala Harris during his impeachment here his first time around, doing all that. No. And you see who all these game players are. It is. And I'm glad my kids see through everything.
Wow. That's awesome.
They can see through. And that's my hope. And I meet more and more younger kids. And I tell them, come on, let's start to vote. Get you out the vote. Do you vote? And, and then they're starting, and they know. And I'm telling you what, we got a good generation of kids around where I'm at. these kids were so sick of what they've went through. They watched these riots, the BLM being pushed on them at school, and the indoctrination that was starting to happen, and they were targeting kids. They targeted my son. They made the wrong mistake. You picked the wrong family. I called them out. I recorded them. I had my son recorded them. I mean, even the school district of Philadelphia is disgusting. And there's two teacher unions in there. And one's a radical and one's pretty much all Democratic run. But the year I moved in that house and I came and my son go to the school, I noticed all decorations were down. And I said, why is the school everything was so pretty? Bush is president. And I said, yes, so? And that clicked me back then of going, oh, so what are you doing? Making it look like the world's so horrible and everything's so gloomy because somebody else is in charge and you ain't got that. And I had said it to the teacher and she was like, good. She was a conservative too. So it was like, yeah, she was getting me to read between those lines. And yeah, Bush is president. Yeah. And you're right. You're catching it. So it was just little things more and more as I'm going along that I've been picking up and really just not liking the Democratic Party anymore. And
it's not what they used to be. It's not what they used to be. My grandmother and grandfather were hardcore Democratic individuals, and even my aunt, she was in her 80s. It's not at all what it used to be. I think that if my grandparents actually saw some of the stuff that's going on now, they'd roll over in their grave over it. They would not stand for that party at all. I honestly believe that.
If there are some Democrats out there, like they were in my boat, that like I'm deplorable, yeah, because I'm not down with this, and you're not a progressive. Everybody just get to know your polls. Get local. Who is it? Get in there, find out, push it. Because in Philadelphia, they ain't listing the people running on the posters that we hang up. So you don't even know to vote for them. I think they do it into a bypass. So then, okay, those spots are vacant and now they're going to place. People really just get involved. Get involved in your local poll.
And then on my side too, I'm sure you have it up there, but straight Republican or straight Democrat, that can't go anymore. Like, you need to research these people out, because there was several people I voted on my ballot that were Democrats, even though I'm registered Republican. But I studied the individuals and I didn't like what that Republican representative had to offer or what they were saying. And I agreed more with the Democrat Party. So, you got to step outside of that box and being a hardcore individual for that party at this point. You got to have discernment.
Yeah.
And really pray who you put in leadership locally, state.
But it's so hard when you go in with these search engines and how they hold the information down. So when you do want to when people are trying to get that information and all, it's controlled what you're seeing.
It is
what's
controlled.
Pushed to the top. Yeah. So it's just so everything's so controlled for where it's hard. It's convenience, but at the same time, you're controlled. That's why I love the archives. I love going Harrisburg archives or Temple University's archives. I love the archives because you're getting real old. I love reading old newspapers. And when I redid the house I just moved from, we did the basement room in the basement, and all the papers from JFK's assassination fell out of somebody had stashed them and lived in the house before, all the JFK assassination papers. So I have all that.
Are you serious?
And what I read and what I was like, wow, journalism has totally changed. And how I could read through and see what Jack Rubenstein, how he was really connected with everything. It was like, that was good journalism. That's missing today. You don't have that no more. And
I think a lot of these journalists and also these news anchors too, like, I want to be really mad at some of these, but some of these news anchors that's come out too that has said that they were pretty much bribed or threatened or that they'll lose their job. Like, we need to pray for these news anchors that work for these big media companies, because I believe that they went in full force thinking that they were going to have an amazing career, that they were going to do what they were taught in college. And then they go to these companies and they get intertwined with these people, the CEOs, the vice presidents, they're all interlocked with each other, and then they're threatened, and they're given just what is it called? What they call just what's that called on the machine where they read off of it? I can't remember what it's called, but they're given that dialogue to reference, and yeah, teleprompter. And I don't know how much of these opinion news shows go by that, but I think majority of them are bribed or threatened, and they want a job just like anybody else. So I'm thankful for the one. And Allison, you stepping up too.
I've contacted my news over what was going on. I mean, different things, different time. And there is one guy that's pretty decent at won't give out there. And I did make a connection with another guy that if I get any video, he would definitely put it on the news. So wow. I do know that anybody can you can get any kind of footage. I do have direct people in the mainstream news in Philadelphia that will absolutely, if I give it to them, they're willing to do it.
Awesome. Well, that's what we need to do. We need to start pushing the truth.
Yep. And that's why I say, like, really, like, even the voter intimidation that happens at the poll, different things at the poll. But if we have a camera on us the whole time, we can't cheat either. We can't stuff ballots. We can't do anything. If there's legit security footage of everybody what they're doing, and you can have those cameras far away, it's not getting anybody's informations and stuff. But I really think security cameras are an absolute must to add to what we go for. It'll stop a lot of the poll intimidation and different things like that. The cheat that. It will really help secure down and with that poll. Now, when it goes downtown and what else they do behind the scenes, yeah, that's your other level, like what you've seen for that convention center. But it takes people then get your poll watcher pass. Anybody can apply for one, get it, and get into them spots and watch what they do at the end of the night, how they're taking it out and what they're doing. But if people think I'm not voting because it doesn't count, or people it's rigged anyway. Yeah, but if you do vote, the way I'm saying it, if everybody just comes out and vote and does their vote, they can't cheat. They need you to not vote so they can cheat, so they can ballot stuff.
Makes a lot of sense.
Change. And then I was told that they have a remote clicker that can flip the machine, that glitches the machines. And that's what my judge was saying. And that's when I said, when our machine clicks, this lady is near. So he's saying that we were attached to a satellite, and he's saying they cook it. Now, if somebody's also another thing, when you're putting
are those the satellites that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You can override the machine too. We're given a lantern with a code on it, and it's like these stupid little codes would be like election 2020. It's easy, and you bypass the system and do it. So yeah, there's different ways that anything can. And yeah, and you're supposed to be trusting all these people, but you really can't. And I wouldn't mind military things coming in and helping. We really need more security measures to overwatch, and be secure. So those footage would be held. That's there, and you're going to be. They should be stored just as along with the other material boxes. So if you need to pull those tapes, and if those tapes are missing or are gone, you know what that is. You hide evidence. So, there's guilt, you're going back. But that, I think, is a big one. I think we really should have that, especially with that. I was stalked. I was followed. I was videotaped.
I believe it.
All, and let the war boss take my box that first time. Then when I have different people that come up that are walking up in line, and then they give you the materials. I've had people that know, like the Democrat guy who knows people are Republican, and he'll go and throw the material at them.
That's petty. That's so bad.
But it's still things that like a big grown man like this, and is supposed to be a veteran, and he's wearing his veteran gear, but he's acting like that. And and doing it to the different people that he knows, it's just like you shouldn't be doing that. They've really treated us like crap at my poll. They've been doing it. And if that happens at mine, what's happening all over? And I am starting to see other people step up, making comments under Governor Wolf's posts and saying, I'm a judge of elections. I was questioning, why are we told if this was a mistake, whatever? Yeah, who cares? Just don't worry about it, like brush it down the lane. I've been starting to screenshot now anything I see that people are coming up and now speaking out, other poll workers, other election poll workers, election board. So this is making me feel better, and I'm going to keep continuing saying my comments places, because I feel like it is giving other people that, you know what, even if it might not have me directly watching that cheat, but the rest of everybody putting in our what we're experiencing, it's showing you there is not security there, and there is integrity things that we have to take a look at. And if Wolf acknowledged, and then he's starting to say that these different things have to change, and he was saying that, okay, I'll give poll workers higher pay. I know that with the poll books, I'll turn them to electric poll books. I'm not down for these electric poll books. It's another electronic thing. No, paper is the way to go. Secure paper with those watermarks, those special papers. That's the track we need.
I agree with that. 110% I agree with that. And I just want to just say, we're going to close this out because it's almost been 2 hours. I knew that we would go over, but I didn't think it was going to go over this long. Alison, I'm going to get emotional because that's just who I am. Thank you for being so brave and coming forth and telling the truth in your testimony and what you've witnessed. And I pray that God puts a hedge of protection around you and your family and everything. The American people, I don't care what party you're on. We've said that several times. This is the truth, and this is what's happened. And I think it always happens in all elections, but this past election was just mind-blowing to me with all of the fraudulent things that happened. And if we don't stand up for it now as United States citizens, it will just get worse, and it'll develop into another government that we don't want.
Yeah.
Exactly. It really will. So
that's what they want.
But Alison, I would love this is the first show for the Beast System. So thank you for doing this. This is just going to be something, maybe it'll end up being a weekly thing eventually in the long run. But I'd love for you to come back on. Maybe we can schedule something else in the next few weeks after all of this madness and all these results and things come out, and just see what happens there. And thank you to anybody and everybody that's watched this tonight. Please give it a thumbs up, ring that bell. I hardly ever market my YouTube, and share this out, because that's how we get the word out. And this is the truth, and this is a testimony from someone that's worked the election polls for a very long time. And Alison, we appreciate you very much. Thank you for all your hard work and doing what you're doing.
You're welcome, and keep up what you're doing. The word will get out there.
Oh, we'll see what happens. It's a show and a half, that's for sure.
Don't let the conversation stop. Always, that's what I say, even with Byberry, with the mental asylums. Don't ever continue that conversation. Don't ever let the conversation stop. That's when we're in trouble, when the conversation stops.
I agree with that too. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for everybody watching, Laura, everybody in the chat. We love you. Y'all have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time. Thank you all.